Welcome, everybody. My name is Stacy Attia. I'm a Solution Marketing Manager here at N2Y, and today we're going to unleash student potential with a total AT classroom solution. So here's my speaker disclosure. I am an employee of N2Y. I am a marketing manager. N2Y is a company that works with students that have unique learning needs. So in today's session, we are going to be covering how to engage students in the learning process through an AT classroom solution, a whole AT classroom solution, using assistive technology to foster student motivation and growth, thinking about compliance, and also to examine those assistive technology solutions for classroom management. So a little bit about N2Y. We began our journey back in 1997, and for over the past 20 plus years, we have provided support to teachers, students, service providers, parents. We want to make sure that students have their full potential and access to curriculum and learning. So I always like to tell people when I do these presentations that I have spent the last 17 plus years in the classroom. I was an administrator, a teacher, I'm a parent of a special needs student. I've done MTSS, ESSA, you name it, I have pretty much done it. So one of the things that is always at the cornerstone of my mind is how to meet the needs of all of my learners, whether they are in an inclusion setting or self-contained, whether they're an ESOL student. So this kind of reminded me of what my life was like in the classroom, which I'm sure many of you guys can relate to. So we're always looking for that perfect solution to meet that whole child. So when I was teaching just last year, I got my first taste of N2Y solutions, and I absolutely loved them. I had 13 students on 8 different grade levels. I had my 19-year-old who wanted to go to college, my kindergartner who was nonverbal autistic. So I had my plethora of students last year. So the N2Y total solution encompasses the whole child. So we cover curriculum and instruction, behavior management, literacy, and current events to help keep students on top of civics. We have communication, skills practice, and of course, teacher development, professional development. And that is all encompassing to help teachers, administrators, and service providers to meet those state and district-wide compliance. You know, that's at the forefront of everything that we do. We want to have those positive student outcomes, and we want to make sure that our teachers are happy and satisfied with how all of our solutions work, and they work comprehensively together. So we're going to take a look at each of the solutions one at a time. But before we do that, one of the great things about all of our solutions is that they are flexible. So you can use all of our solutions, which are cloud-based, in self-contained. You can use them in a resource room. You can use them in inclusion. And I actually have used them virtually. So they can be used anywhere on any device. So this is our total solution dashboard. I would point to them if my arms were long enough, but they're not. But we do have several different solutions. For curriculum and instruction, we have Unique Learning System. News to You is our literacy and current events. Symbol 6 Prime is our communication. L3 Skills is gamification. We have Positivity, which is our new behavioral solution. And then, of course, our professional development. So let's talk about Unique. Unique is an instructional tool that is 100% aligned with your state standards. It provides students with differentiated instruction that's based on their level. There are accessibility options along with that as well, making it a great AT solution. The content is differentiated in 3 different levels, and it allows teachers to be able to gather data-driven goals to make meaningful progress within the gen ed curriculum. So we're going to take a little bit take a look actually at some of the features of Unique Learning System. Of course, my go-go gadget arm, I can't point to all of it, but on the far left is our math. So as I mentioned before, Unique Learning is differentiated into 3 different levels. There are diagnostic tools that the teachers and service providers can use in order to determine what level the student is at. But they have the opportunity to make all of the curriculum accessible to the student needs. In the middle with the green on top is the teacher lesson plans. All of our lesson plans come with a PDF format. You can download it for the month, and it includes all 3 levels of differentiation. There are suggestions for word walls, things of that nature that you can use to incorporate. It also gives you the ability to integrate some of our gamification into the program as well. So the student can access this on their own device, or you can teach it in a classroom setting. All the way to the right is one of the books that we have available for students. Once you go through the diagnostic and figure out what level the student is at, you can actually assign them library books. I did that last year for students to encourage them to read. It's all in their accessibility level. There's text-to-speech, which is wonderful. And of course, at our level 1, it's all symbol supported. This is the teacher dashboard. When a teacher or a service provider would log in, they can see all of the lessons based on whatever your schedule is during the day. And those little tiny, I think it's like LA dot, you guys all know those. Those are your standards. So one of the great things about Unique Learning System is that it's 100% aligned with your state standards. So the teacher can go directly to the lesson plan, see how to differentiate the instruction. It includes the lesson plan. And then the button on the far right is the interactive document. That's what your students see, and that way the students can interact. Of course, these can be printed, but we love to get those kids involved and engaged, so we wanted to promote the interactive part. To your left, you see some options. When you're creating a class schedule, you can do it for your classroom, or if you have a student that's out in inclusion, you'll see a couple of faces on there. You can see that, what they have scheduled, during the day as well. And these are just some examples of some of the activities that come along in there. One of the great benefits of Unique Learning is that I can hit middle grades and be able to differentiate that instruction. So if I have a student that's at a higher level and I want to teach them about civil rights, they can see I can differentiate that civil rights instruction based on the student's level, so they can all have access to the curriculum at their particular level. Again, it's all interactive. These can be printed, but they are all interactive, and the students can actually click on those, and the system will notify them if they are correct or not correct. This is our N2I GPS. So at the beginning, I talked a little bit about the leveling system. You've got level 1, level 2, and level 3, depending on the student needs. One of the great aspects of our GPS is that the teacher or the service provider can go in and see where the student is currently functioning, compare it to the IEP to see what are the areas that they need to work on with the student. There are benchmark assessments that can be given as part of progress monitoring. There are checkpoints that you can give at the beginning and the end of the monthly lessons. I forgot to mention that our Unique Learning lessons are based on thematic units. So everything that you're doing in that particular month would relate to either social studies or science. So every lesson, whether it's math, language arts, vocabulary, writing, will all be under that one thematic unit. Another aspect is the student daily performance. So for service providers or teachers that have to give, daily, like this is how the student is doing, they have the option to be able to do student daily performance, which shows not only the standards that were covered, but how the student performed. So, and you can take this data and use it for IEPs as well. So there's Unique. Our newest solution is Positivity, and Positivity is our new behavior management. It is centered around social emotional learning, with student-centered strategies, simple data reporting, which is perfect. I know some of us this time of year are in that whole FBA, VIP mode. This is where I speak in data. And it also integrates into daily routines. So if you have unique learning system, you have L3 skills, the students will actually be able to use the positivity strategies to complete their day. So we're going to take a short look at positivity and what that actually looks like in the classroom. So as I mentioned before, it is integrated. This is actually the teacher dashboard, and you have several options. For your students that need that visual schedule, you can actually input a visual schedule for the classroom, but you can also input a schedule for an individual student if they're out in inclusion and they need to have some positive reinforcement, some help with building those self-advocacy skills. That's where you would set up the schedule. The next part is current status, where you can actually get a quick snapshot of how students are doing, if they've used any strategies in the classroom. And of course, at the bottom is your library of strategies. So in thinking of the different strategies that are available, you can use a break card, you can assign students a break card, you can assign them decision-making trees, social narratives, anything to make it a preventative of those classroom behaviors. So, for example, if you have a student who kind of struggles in reading and they don't want to ask for help, so rather than ask for help, they're going to act out in class. You can actually assign a strategy such as a decision tree and set it up so that the student will see it every single time that reading instruction comes along based on the schedule. And they can use that at their leisure if they feel like they need that, or if the teacher wants to remind them of that reinforcement, they can use it. And one of the great aspects of that is no matter what strategy they use, the data is automatically collected. So there's no paper, pencil, writing things down, no more having to write down incidents that happen. All of it can be recorded here, and then the data is automatically collected. So here we have, this is an example of a social narrative that we were adding. We have several different templates for social narratives, but if you want to use your own social narrative, you are more than welcome to do that. It's all customizable based on student need. And these are just some examples of the strategies that I had mentioned before. The video modeling is really popular. As you go into, as you're transitioning from class to class. There is the break cards, which are a fantastic way to help students with self-advocacy skills. If you notice that a student becomes frustrated during a certain class, you can actually set them up with break cards, and they can work on those advocacy skills. They can click a button, and they can take a break. And of course, all of that data is tracked. Here's an example of what the daily schedule looks like. You can see here on the daily that there have been some strategies that have been assigned, because we're always, as practitioners, we want to make sure that we're setting that stage so that the students don't have those frustrations and have those behaviors in class. So we're always in prevention, proactive mode. So now in the event, because we know this all happens, in the event that student is having a really, really hard time, you also have access to on-demand strategies. Oh, let me go back. And one of those strategies, up here in the top, I know it's hard to see, there's a little heart. And when you click on the heart, it allows you to make some adjustments to your class. If your student's struggling with having that visual schedule and it's driving them crazy, you can turn it off. If your student, you can see that the student is getting frustrated, you can click on a heart and it will have a breath strategy that will shut everything off and just come right out to the student. So that is really helpful in helping to, when you don't have that moment to proactively set up a strategy. And that can go for the class. You can send it to an individual student on whatever device that they have. Now, of course, my administrators, my teachers, my service providers are always about the data. I can't imagine anybody not about that data. So one of the features that we have here is the ability for you to go to one spot to collect or to retrieve your data. So whether it's unique learning system, L3 skills, which we'll get to in a moment, or positivity, all of these reports are available to you that you can use for IEPs, FBAs, and VIPs. So another benefit of positivity is the data reporting. We now have over 30 data reports that are available for positivity. Whether you're looking at intervention strategies, you're at the beginning process of an FBA, and you're looking at that big picture of behavior. How often is it happening? What is the duration? You can use positivity to track all of that automatically, no more paper pencil. And these are just some examples of what that would look like. You know, as you're going through that intervention process, you're collecting the data. You can see here some of the trends, and as the IEP team, you can figure out which route to go in that VIP. Next up is News to You, which I know is one of our most popular solutions. News to You hits that current event and literacy aspect. It was actually our first solution here at N2I. Jackie Clark, who was our founder, she felt the need to have something that connected her students. And this particular solution is one that's very popular in any classroom because it is access to the real world. You're getting up-to-date news and information that is engaging. It's things that they want to learn about. I know this week we're talking about the Super Bowl, which I know the kids are excited about. We've had articles on there about Frozen, which, of course, everybody loves Frozen. But it also helps to improve those language skills and literacy skills in and out of the classroom. The other thing, too, is there are instructional materials that are relevant to the News to You articles, which makes it easy to connect what you're doing curriculum-wise with what's actually happening in the real world. So as part of News to You, we have a couple of different components. So you can see here, News to You is differentiated to 4 levels of instruction. So you have your the highest level, where it's just the picture, and then of course you have the text. And then of course, all the way here to the right is our symbol-supported level 1. So you could essentially teach something, a current event about landing on the moon, and be able to reach each student at their accessibility level. So I found this really helpful when I had my big class of 13 kids that were on 8 different grade levels, because I could differentiate the instruction and the activities that go along with it. Another fun feature is the class news. When my kids were immersed in News to You, the first thing that they wanted to do was to create a class newsletter, because it's fun and it's very simple to do. It helps to connect what's going on at school to what's going on at home. So the class newsletter is where the students can actually participate and engage in creating a newsletter with weather, class news, school events. You can interview other students as part of, student of the week, that kind of thing. And if you have any messages you want to send home, you could send them weekly, you could send them monthly, but it's very easy. So the first thing that you do is just choose what you want to include in your newsletter, go through a few steps, and it's student-led, which is always fun, and this is the end product. So not only are your parents getting what's going on at home, or what's going on at school, I should say, but the student is able to communicate at their level what is actually happening. So it's a great school-to-home connection. And then, of course, today's weather. My kids love to do this at the beginning of the morning. You can actually create a symbol sticks character, which is this guy here. And based on whatever today's date is and today's weather, the students can come together and choose what the symbol sticks character should wear each day. It's a great AM core fun thing to do with them, which is also included in News to You. We also have additional resources such as Joey's Locker. There is planning for teachers. So in any of the activities, a lot of our News to You articles And also in Unique Learning System, they also have recipes. So as part of that daily living, the planning for the teachers is already included in the instructions. So you could get your list of things you need to buy or to do in order to prepare for the lessons. There are holiday units in there. There are observances articles. There's lots of information. And one other thing that I did not mention is, in addition to the daily news, there's also breaking news, which we'll cover, and you can search it by topic. So if you're covering something in class, such as civics, and you want to find something that's related to sports or anything else that's going on, there's breaking news where you can search the archives to find other articles that are relevant to whatever you're teaching. Next up is L3 Skills. This is skills practice. So when you have your students learning in the curriculum and they need that extra skills practice, this is what L3 Skills is for. They are interactive. They are safe because the students are actually immersed in a program that does not have ads, which is always a nice thing. I know as a former teacher, that one of the difficult areas was finding that skills practice without having the ads all over the place, which is super distracting. So they're great for building confidence. They can be done independently. They have accessibility options as well. And we also have single switch. Another great part of that is that anytime a student does a game in L3 Skills, we are tracking that data. And that data is aligned with the state standard so that you can use it for IEPs, for progress monitoring, and compliance. And these are just some examples of what that teacher dashboard is. If you're looking for a particular skill, you just simply look for the skill and add it to the student's dashboard. How am I doing on time? Ooh, I gotta hurry up. Those are just more examples. And then this is an example of what you can get as far as the data reporting. Now these can also be exported into Excel if you're keeping track of it that way. But this is nice to be able to print for parents. Next up is Symbol 6 Prime, which is our big communication. We have both Symbol 6 Prime, which has over 90,000 symbols. It allows you to make communication boards for your students. They can be interactive online or they can be printed and laminated. We also have the ability to change skin tones. So this is a great tool for not only your special needs, but also your ELL learners as well, because we know that communication and symbols are very connected. And this is just the teacher dashboard. Now, all of our symbols, when you scroll down here, you'll be able to see what's currently being used within Unique and News to You. Now, at our booth, we have the Tactile 3x3 Symbol 6 Squares cards, which is the first 100 words. They are arranged in two sets, first 50 and then the second 50. But these are another viable tactile option for those students that really need to see it, touch it, manipulate it, bite it, lick it. You know, it's good for all of that. So they are made for use in communication boards. I've used them in pocket charts. I've put Velcro on them to create sentences. But this is just another avenue. And of course, we have professional development. Because as practitioners, we always want to make sure we're staying up to date on things. We want to make sure we are optimizing our solutions as best as we possibly can. We do have professional development solutions as well, where somebody can come to you. We have trainers that can come to you. We also have our customer service advocates who can also help if you ever need anything. In addition to that, we have 3 webinar series that we run each month. We have Ed Exchange, which is all about industry trends. We have Live at N2Y, which is product walkthroughs. And then we have Excite Ed, which is more information to learn about a particular solution. So why the N2I Total Solution? It is an integrated, age-appropriate, differentiated total solution for that whole child. So if you're looking for a solution that really hits the whole child, then this is definitely something that will benefit you. It is all aligned to the state standard, so you're meeting that state and district compliance. You're improving student outcomes, and of course, you're increasing teacher satisfaction because you're improving and lessening the workflow. So again, thank you guys for coming today. This was EDU 07. I forgot to put that on the first slide. We are doing a giveaway, so stop by booth 509. And if we can scan your badge, we will enter you in for a Symbol 6 Squares drawing. Does anybody have any questions? All right, thank you.